truth.
I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys know I play that intro, right? I'm doing the drums. No, I'm not. Anyway, we'll call it the day today because the government's never wrong, right? They're always telling us the good stuff out there. It's August 19th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a Wednesday, 2026. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Remember, as long as I go to the government, we can never be wrong, right? Gee, many Christmas. I actually have been doing a big study on daylight savings time. And remember when I talked to you guys earlier about, I mean, we've talked about this over the last 3 or 4 months, but I just kind of came up with the idea, and I'm seriously, guys, I just like, isn't time local? Like, that was just a question I asked myself. And so I started researching into this to find out that the idea of going into time zones was never meant for the general public. It was meant for the train stations so that they could coordinate from one place to the other, but time was always supposed to be local. And it's actually, there has been huge scientific studies on this showing the circadian clock, this dysrhythmia that goes into the body where the body is not in sync with the moon, with the day, the calendar, all that stuff. It really, our bodies seek out the balance of the Earth's energy and how the sun and all that stuff correlate with us. Just like a woman's cycle and just like a pregnancy and all these other things depend on the moon, but we don't think of that way. We're just like, oh no, it's like, government, we just change the time twice a year because it makes the world a better place. I don't know. We're just crazy that way. But we got to remember that when we manipulate time, it does affect our bodies and affects us in a lot of different ways. There has been a lot of conversation going on about different things from the immigration stuff to this and that. But we do have a great big election coming up here in the fall, and I say great big election because every election to me is a big one, and you have to participate and be a part of those things. We do have one. We had a primary, this thing going on. We're in the primary season right now. I think almost all of it's over with, but we will be going into the general election in November, and know that they do these off-year elections like this purposely to get the candidates that they want through. There's strategies behind why we have off-year elections, why we have spring elections, and why we have fall elections, and it's all very scientific. And they know what they're doing. You just don't seem to be paying attention that they know what they're doing. They know how to manipulate you, and they're very good at it. So when the Democrats are putting weak candidates in different places, you understand why they do it, because they can't get them on a regular general election presidential year. All right. Well, anyway, I do have a special guest with me coming in here, Mr. Kraft. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. I got to get myself sitting next to you now. There we go. Sir, go ahead and introduce yourself, what your website is, and let's chop it up from there.
Absolutely. So I'm a spokesman for the RNC, and I'm happy to talk to you today about the midterm convention that the RNC and President Trump are doing in Dallas next month on September 9th and 10th. This is truly going to be a historic event. We've never had a midterm convention before. These are typically held every 4 years, tied to the presidential calendar. But President Trump is always interested in shaking things up and throwing out the playbook. So he said, let's have a midterm convention. And I think the really exciting thing for your listeners is that they will be able to attend. Traditionally, conventions are only available for party insiders or donors or elected officials. But for the first time, anyone can apply to attend at GOPconvention.com, and they will be able to win general admission tickets, and a select few will even get VIP front row tickets that'll put them just feet from President Trump for his primetime address.
So it's GOV Convention, GOP or GOV?
GOPconvention.com.
There we go. Grand Old Party, GOP, as in Paul or Price. Convention.com. I put that in the chat there for everybody. Now, where at in Texas are we doing this thing?
This is going to be held in Dallas at American Airlines Arena. It's really going to be a great event. We were just there a couple weeks ago touring the facility. It's all set, and it's going to be a great venue to hold the primetime speakers. President Trump is going to be there every time he speaks. It's must-see television. We're going to have a really star-studded lineup of speakers surrounding him. But beyond the actual event, there's going to be great festivities going all around American Airlines in Dallas, out there in Victory Plaza, which is the area right outside the arena. There's going to be some special guests, some live entertainment, some free food, some drinks. Like, it's really going to be a special couple of days. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for anyone who's ever wanted to attend a convention, ever wanted to hear President Trump speak live. It's truly an electric experience. I encourage anyone to try and make the trip, especially if you guys are in Texas. It's not too far.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's only 5.5 hour drive for me from Wichita. And I will tell you guys, he's absolutely right. When you go to these events like this, when Trump comes in the room, everything changes. I hate hearing the ugliness of people going, well, Trump's a jerk and he's this and that. But if you ever go into one of these events, I've been to CPAC a bunch with him. I've been there 4 or 5 years now in a row, and been a Turning Point, all these things where he shows up. Things do change. Now, this is great that you guys are doing this. How many? You said this is a multi-day or a one-day, or what's the schedule on this?
So it's going to be a 2-day event. It'll be September 9th and September 10th. So people who are interested in applying can either apply for one day or both days. But this is going to be a massive event. I mean, we're anticipating that this is going to be our largest convention, presidential or otherwise, dating all the way back to 2016. This is going to be even larger than the 2024 convention in Milwaukee. We expect more than 20,000 attendees. And that just goes back to the excitement we are seeing on the ground in Texas with the grassroots, the conservative movement. They are fired up on President Trump, and they're very excited to come see him, especially in Texas. It's long been a home, of conservatism. It's a place where President Trump is loved. He loves the people of Texas. This is primed to be an excellent event.
Well, and so when you think about this, you're saying that it's going to be 2 days. So this is a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, Saturday, Sunday?
It'll be a Wednesday, Thursday, so
Wednesday,
right in the middle of the
Thursday.
week.
Right in the middle of the week. So Wednesday, Thursday, and so then Trump's going to close out the event on that second night? Is that right?
We haven't announced any formal scheduling yet in terms of when President Trump will speak, but I would say, he'll be speaking in a primetime slot where the American people will be able to witness him. So it'll be a good bet that you'll be able to see him and get to hear, what will surely be an incredible speech from the president.
So do you have any things, like any highlights of different people are coming, or can you tease us with something that there's certain people we like to hear, some people like this person or that person? It's not always about Trump, right? There are other people we do like hearing. So who is that?
I think since President Trump has come onto the political scene, really his focus has been on fighting for hardworking Americans. He's taken on the swamp. He's taken on party insiders. It's basically the main reason why they have come after him so hard. They've even tried to throw him in jail. But through all of that, President Trump has been relentless in fighting for hardworking people, whether that's securing the border, delivering no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. This isn't designed for coastal elites. These policies are designed to improve the lives of hardworking Americans. And that's part of the reason why President Trump wants this event for the first time to be open to anyone, to be open to the American people. He wants the people who benefit the most, hardworking Americans, to be there front and center and be able to hear from him directly. Yeah. So this convention is going to spotlight that and spotlight all the important work that he has done, and really just contrast that with what Democrats are offering. Their far left radical agenda, open borders, reopen the prisons, let criminals flood into communities, a Green New Deal, ban oil and gas. They even got, candidates out there questioning if America deserved 9/11. I mean, it's truly insane where the Democrat Party is today. And Republicans and President Trump are going to draw a strong contrast between what we are offering and just the absolute Looney Tune bin that Democrats are offering.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that's I guess, well, if we didn't have an enemy, we wouldn't know where to shoot our guns, right? So we do have an enemy. We know that we don't really have to convince the world to see that there is a difference between us and our enemy. Is that correct? Like, our enemy really has separated themselves from what we consider to be traditionalists or conservatives, correct?
There's no room in the Democrat Party for moderates anymore. You used to think, a couple, 10, 15 years ago, there were slight disagreements between Republicans and Democrats. That just isn't the case anymore. We have seen this radical far left takeover, all the way from Florida to Alaska. We just had some primaries last night where, moderate candidates who are just run-of-the-mill socialists, even they are getting kicked out of the party because the rabid Democrat base is saying there is no room. If you aren't fully on board with defunding the police, you're out of here. If you're not fully on board with 17 genders and sex change surgeries for little kids, you're out of here. If you're not fully on board with full-blown socialism or communism, whatever they're pushing this day, you're out of here. The Democrat Party has gone so far to the left and become so radical. There is a stark contrast between that and the common sense agenda that Republicans are pushing that is rooted in improving the lives of hardworking Americans.
Now, aren't these Democrats or whatever we want to call? I mean, they're progressing so much. They keep progressing or keep marching on to the point now they're asking for a total authoritarian type government to take over their daily lives and feed them, but yet will say that Trump is the king that holds them back from their God-given rights. How do people get to that point in their brain where they really don't realize that they're just talking crazy anymore?
You know, there's a simple phrase we like to use. It is called Trump derangement syndrome. You know, it starts out with just everything President Trump says you are going to disagree with, doesn't matter how common sense it is. If he says he had a great announcement the other day, it's a 125-year low for violent crime. For some reason, Democrats say, no, we're against that. We want to defund the police. We want to abolish prisons. That's not a hypothetical. You know, James Talarico in your state of Texas has come out and said that he wants to abolish prisons. He wants to defund the police. He wants to put criminals in charge. He is not happy that President Trump is securing communities and driving crime to a 125-year low. That upsets him. He does not want his criminal friends to be put in jail. So this is really, how you get there with Trump derangement syndrome. Is it seems common sense. You go up to a random person on the street, hey, should we lock up criminals? Well, yeah, of course. You go to someone who's a truly sick Democrat like James Talarico, and they're going to say, absolutely not. I cannot agree with President Trump. Let's do the most insane thing possible on earth, no matter how bad it is for the state.
I saw a gentleman the other day, and I say gentleman, I'm using the word loosely, as I would call him a boy or less than a man, because he didn't really have much to say, other than he said that the Constitution needs to be abolished. We need to get rid of cops. We need to get rid of this. We need to get rid of that. Now, here, granted, I am all about small government. I'm all about government I can't see. But my question to somebody who says they don't want our United States Constitution to exist anymore, they're like, hey, it's an old rag. I had the assistant principal to the second largest school in the state of Kansas tell me that the Constitution is actually an outdated document. But my very question is, well, if you don't use it as the beginning of every question, then you don't actually know what you're talking about. But what are you going to replace it with? See, this is the part where I think so many times, you don't like our Constitution. You don't like the cops. You don't like the jails, which again, I think the jails, you can't put you can't put sewage in a bucket and expect sweet honey to come out of the bottom. So what are we doing there? But what am I asking people when they say they don't want a Constitution? Have they ever really thought about writing their own Constitution and maybe convincing me that their Constitution is better than the one I have? That you see where I'm asking that question of, you say they don't want prisons. Okay, what does it look like then? Because there's going to be people you have to put away. And if you don't want our Constitution, then what does your Constitution look like? Have you heard of any of them coming up with those answers?
I haven't, but it goes far beyond that. I mean, we've seen some of these new radical Democrat leaders. They've said they want to abolish the Senate. They want to abolish the presidency. You've got one running up in New York who's openly, she used to work for this group that's running on eradicating Western civilization. So to your point, that means getting rid of America. And then what? You're just going to destroy this country. And to be honest, I think the clearest answer
that's back to a monarchy, isn't it? And then we just reverse right back to what we started from.
I don't even want to know what it would go back to. I love this country. I think it's the greatest country on earth. Like, why would we abolish it? But you see some of these radicals get interviewed, and what they're openly pushing is communism. Like they have said, their end goal is communism. So they don't care about abolishing prisons. They don't even care about abolishing this country. Like they have departed so far from just where the Democrat Party was even just 10 years ago and become so crazy that their goals are beyond just transforming this country. It's on fundamentally destroying it. And so that's why the midterms, in November are so important. And it's so important for your listeners to churn out. Is if you care about this country, you love America, and you want to save it, you need to make sure you churn out and you vote and you elect Republicans. If you can spare $5, give it to your local Republican and support them. Like these midterms are so consequential in determining the future of this country, and it's too important to sit at home and just let someone else decide the future.
That's true. Okay, so what is your position again? What is it you do for? What are you doing for us? What is your job?
I'm a spokesman for the RNC.
The RNC, and then we've got a big what we're calling this, the midterm convention. Okay, so and then now I have to go to GOPconvention.com to be able to get tickets or to apply for getting tickets.
Yes, sir. If you or any of your listeners are interested in attending, if you go to GOPconvention.com, you can apply for tickets for either September 9th, September 10th, or both days. Like I said, this is going to be a historic event. It's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see President Trump. For the select few who do win this VIP access, I can't emphasize enough how cool that experience is going to be.
Absolutely.
You are going to be just steps away from President Trump. You're going to have a front row seat to history. And even for everyone else who just wins the normal general admission tickets, I mean, this is going to be an incredible event. You're going to be in the arena. Never before has the average American just been allowed access to this. These are usually just reserved for donors or elected officials. So this could be a once-in-a-lifetime event. If you've never seen President Trump live, it's must-see TV. So it's even better in person, and I can vouch for that. So, I think anyone who's ever been interested in seeing President Trump, go to GOPconvention.com and apply for your chance to get these tickets. It's going to be worth it.
No, absolutely. It's been great. And that's cool that you're doing all that. And probably need to look at getting a press pass and see if I can get down there for that, be able to do some interviews. All right. Well, anything else? Now, do you have any words of wisdom for us going into the general election this November? Are there things that you're hearing that we need to pay attention to?
I think, like I said, the greatest thing right now is for your viewers to continue to be tuned in, continue to think about the consequences of this midterm in November. When the American people elected President Trump, they elected him for 4 years, not 2. But we know what's going to happen if Democrats take back control of Congress. They're going to try and throw him and his family in jail. They're going to undo every accomplishment President Trump has ever done. They're going to reopen the border. They're going to try and raise taxes. They're going to try and pass a Green New Deal. We cannot let that happen. So anyone who's a patriot, a Trump supporter, you need to make sure that you get your friends, you get your family, you turn out, and you make sure you vote this November, because the stakes are far too high to sit at home and let Democrats destroy this country.
If we forgot what the border was like, look at Monaco right now. Monaco is literally sending their military to try to stop these people from invading their country. When I say invade, we're talking 20, 30, 40,000 people just coming down our freeway. It's kind of crazy to see. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the videos in Spain the other day, but it was the same thing. You just had tens of thousands of, illegal immigrants just pouring out of the sea and just walking into the country. It's the fine line that we were walking between the greatest country on earth and just being degraded into a third world hellscape is very fine, and President Trump is standing on that line.
Absolutely. Well, and think about that, though. Isn't that just as simple as that? Sometimes it's just as easy as standing there. You don't have to actually physically run the race. Just don't move. We don't want our traditionalism to move. So why should we try to come to them or move our position, but stay where we are and stay consistent?
No, absolutely. And we cannot let, perfect be the enemy of great. President Trump is holding back a whole bunch of horrible things from the radical left, and he has done a tremendous job for this country, whether it be securing the border. Just a couple of years ago, Biden was spending billions of dollars creating a Sesame Street show in Iraq. I wish that was a joke. That is a real thing. He was spending millions more sending condoms to Gaza. Right. These are real things that the government was spending your tax dollars on. Nobody thought there was anything wrong with it until President Trump came into office. So, the craziness that he has put a stop to is real, but unfortunately, it can go right back if we let Democrats take back control of this country.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anything else you want to add? Do I need to get you out of here? I don't know if you're short on time or not.
Absolutely no, but thank you so much for having me on, and we'd love to have you down in Dallas. So please reach out about press credentials, and we'd love to welcome you there.
Definitely, sir. We'll get down there, and I've been to so many of these things. I got to go to the inauguration. Well, that got shut down last minute, and then was just unfortunate. But I went down to the CPAC down in Dallas a few months ago, and I've been able to get to quite a few events. And over the years, I've been to Mar-a-Lago twice now. I want to get back again. So it's been fun. It's actually, Trump's made politics a little more fun than it used to be, I would say.
I would say, it used to be a bunch of boring old people, but, thankfully Trump's one of the most entertaining and, powerful forces in politics. I think for that reason, the American people recognize, he's not only a great entertainer, but he's a great leader. So that's why he's loved.
No, that's very good. So, all right, sir. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And one more time, what's that website?
Go to GOPconvention.com and apply for your tickets.
Perfect. All right, sir. We're going to get you out of here. And you have a good day. If you want to come back anytime, jump on, all right?
Hey, thank you so much. Have a good one.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. All right, what a great interview that was with him, and I do appreciate the fact that we do have representatives from the Grand Old Party, GOP, showing up to tell us about the different events. And by the way, guys, this is actually one of those things where you really kind of want to jump on this, not because you think, oh, I want to win or whatever, but these opportunities where we get to see Trump or see these different things or get to be around, let's say 10, 20, 30, 50,000 other people that think exactly like you. It's refreshing. It really is. You don't have to hold your tongue. You don't have to hold back. You don't have to wonder if you can say You know, because we've been maintaining a pretty good position on a lot of these different things. Ralph, he says they need to have ICE out at every voting registration place so no illegals vote. Absolutely. That's absolutely. Hey, Jonathan Alexander, good to see you. Appreciate you being here for this, sir. Thank you so much for being a part. Courtney Allen, I got you out there as well. Now, if you guys are wanting to be that part of that, it's going to be the GOP convention, and I just wonder if that would be something that would be a lot of fun to be at, with Trump being there and the sort. Let me get myself centered back out. There we go. It's a little bit better view. All right. The things we do for fun. Where's that at? Advanced, and turn that off. Haven't had that problem with that one for a while. All right. Well... Oh, here we go, folks. You know what's going to happen. I got to turn up the news of the day, right? We got to do this whole thing. Illegal alien who entered U.S. on Biden's open border invitation, murdered woman near jogging trail in Virginia, tried to set her on fire. I don't know, guys. I have heard of these situations continuing on. And I have to say that as an American, as I've seen a lot of people lose their minds over the years and get crazy and do this and that, I just wonder where it is that after you've killed somebody, now you're trying to set the body on fire to avoid the evidence of what you did or whatever. Where are you going in your brain? You got to that point. How do you stop that? I don't know. It just really kind of is a crazy little thing. How people get there, like the one guy was chasing a lady around while she was jogging. Like, what are you doing in your mind that you get to the point where the demons or whatever has got a control of you that you think that running after somebody as they run from you and you can't stop yourself? Guys, I wonder if we really have missed the whole point of we're battling against the principalities and powers of the air. Hey, Julie, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So let's see what this is. President Trump on Wednesday surprised reporters with a personal tour of the White House renovation. The president is currently renovating the East Wing ballroom with the South Lawn helipad and North Portico. By the way, when I'm telling you, like, there's a bunch of stuff going on that you guys, I know what's anyway. I say I know what's going on. I know nothing. This is mostly going to be for helicopters. A lot of use, when they landed a helicopter, every time they land it, people have to go outside with steel pads, put them down. Then they are they are where he goes on. I think he's got an interview here. Let's do this. Here it is. Let's show this. Let's just show the interview, and we're going to do it this way. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Where are we at here? Safiri. All right. Let's just watch this. Oh, it's probably going to have a commercial.
Yes.
Dang it. Yes.
This honey trick prevents memory loss.
There's a commercial. Yes, there's a commercial. Skip ad. You have 2 commercials? Yes, we have 2 commercials. And skip ad.
Nice job, fellas. Does anybody know the word media? This is serious media. And you guys are doing a great job. Sorry to take an extra week and a half, but lifting it up was one of the best things we've ever done, right? Lifting it up, right? Thank you, Jared. I knew you didn't like that, but...
Okay, so Trump was going out there and he was showing everybody what was going on. And let me see if I can find another video where he took him out there. Let's see. I thought he was going to go ahead and do the whole interview. I guess not. So let me read this part where he says, this is most likely going to be for helicopters. A lot of use. When they landed a helicopter, every time it landed, people would have to run out with steel pads, put them down. The good thing about Marine One is a helicopter division of the White House, essentially. We have the best pilots on the world and the best helicopter. The most powerful helicopters literally take the grass off. They rip the grass off the ground. That's how powerful these helicopters are. And in one landing, the entire grass was gone. So what they did was when a president would be flown to the White House, they used different helicopters. Oh, well, shit. So that's a pretty expensive way of doing it. So now with the helipad, we won't have any problem with the grass. So basically, what Trump did was he took them out there to show them. I thought they was going to show them more of the White House expansion of things, but that was all they did in that little part there. So what I'm saying is that, guys, there's a lot going on. Okay, the portico, the part where the little route, the arch part of the building, in the back where he stood up there on the UFC, that's all being redone. Guys, there's a lot of different things that go on to that house that have nothing to do with President Trump sitting in an Oval Office desk or sleeping in a bed in the White House. There's so much more to this building. And I just hate that we don't. This is reporters. I hate it. All right. Drones are being used to smuggle drugs and cell phones into French prisons. Yeah. You gotta love it. Gotta love it. Cop fired after allegedly using flock cameras to stalk former boyfriend. She abused the system 166 times. Guys, flock cameras. If you haven't heard about flock cameras, you really may not have been on Earth in the last few days or last few weeks even. So, flock cameras are cell phones. Now, guys, I'm not making this up, okay? It is a cell phone. It's in like an oval case, and it's got infrared lights around the camera, like a security camera. And then there's a solar panel, and they usually face it to the south because they want to charge the cell phone camera as much as possible. And then that cell phone, it has all these, has all these different ways of tracking images, dogs, cats, humans, cars. It doesn't matter. And face recognition. So Axios and flock cameras are the two majors. Now, there are other ones out there, but Axios is that little camera, that little cop camera that they see on their chests all the time that kind of show good video but not good video. Okay. Cops can access these systems. Just like, let's say, I'm going to access my phone. I swipe up. I then put the security code in, right? I now have access. Well, there's now a login of 428 on this phone where I logged into this phone with this security code. And it tracks that. It's just kind of what it does. Now, when flock cameras read your license plate, time, location, speed, and now they're tracking your cell phones too, by the way, whether your cell phone goes by them, whether you're in a car or not, but if your cell phone goes by these, don't worry about that. That's called Falcon. That program is running live constantly, monitoring all these different things, but a female cop decided, well, she's going to do this 166 times. But my problem with it is, guys, is no one's watching the login. So this little login, like when I go to log into my phone, remember we got to swipe up and then I put my security code in here. Now there's a login of me logging in. Nobody's monitoring the login. Nobody's checking why someone is doing this. This is like getting a search warrant without a judge involved. And this is why judges are supposed to be these amazing gatekeepers, that they don't do the will of the cops, that they really hold them accountable. They're like, have you checked with the DA? Have you checked with your boss? Have you done the right things? No, I'm just a cop, sign it. Okay. South Carolina, a police officer has been fired for allegedly using flock camera systems to check on an individual she had a relationship with. A department representative said no comment on the action. What? It's a personal matter. Wait, what? Your cop was checking the flock camera logs to see if they could track where their ex was at all the time in the town, but it's a personal matter, according to the police department? No! You're using our money to do your shit. That is a public problem. We're paying you, and we're paying for the equipment and the service that you're misusing. That's not a personal problem. That is an us problem, a we problem. That's a you and I problem. Hammond was fired due to allegations of misconduct. Okay, she used her ID to log in 166 separate times to look at her boyfriend's travel log around the city to see who he's having sex with. Or who she's having sex with. I don't know what her partner is. During the period, Hammond was accused of accessing the flock camera system 166 different times to track a vehicle that belonged to an individual with whom she once had a relationship. Every time the system was accessed, a reason was provided, but the document said those reasons were bogus. The reasons were variously listed as a warrant check, traffic infraction, or welfare check. Hammond was not charged with any crimes. Hammond was not charged with any crimes. According to the Criminal Justice Academy, Hammond was fired June 2024. That was over a year ago. And we're just now hearing about it. So how many more of these very things have happened in the 25 million civic employees in America? Civic employees in America, 25 million of them. 10% of our population works for the government in some way or another. Some direct way or another. Alleged misuse of flock cameras has been an issue in neighboring North Carolina. According to the WBTV, Charlotte, police officer Seth Elliott accessed his department's flock system after being asked by the target of a drug investigation in another county to provide information on a vehicle used by an undercover officer. So now it got used against the cops. I bet they were big mad about that. Flock CEO Garrett Langley. By the way, Flock CEO Garrett Langley looks exactly like a Garrett. He's got a soft white face, and he's got his little big boy haircut, and he always wears his colored T-shirt or his slightly open Henley, so he looks like one of the men, one of the guys. I'm just here providing a service that DARPA gave to me. Instead of free-floating searches, police will be required to enter a code that connects a search to an existing open case before the search can be ran. What? Responsibility? But why don't we have transparency of these things? Why aren't we getting more information? Why aren't they pushing this to us more? Why aren't we hearing about this? See that part right there? Why isn't that they are not being more transparent about this? Why aren't they talking about where there may have been a death involved, where there may have been someone injured, where there may have been some... Why aren't we having that conversation? Because they don't have liability, so it doesn't really matter. We can't hold them accountable because they have prosecutable immunity. Is that what we need to remember, that everything is just because you can't, nobody's going to get you in trouble, so you can just do whatever you want? something to ask people. But see, the problem is that when we can't have transparency, when we hear about these things a year, year and a half, 2 years, 5 years later, can we actually say that our police department has transparency and is forthright with us? Why does it take so long for justice to come for cops, but yet they'll set spike strips and a gun and bullets through my windshield to stop me from driving? Just driving. Oh. So I don't know, guys. What is this? It's called Taking Away Your Freedom. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Brenda, absolutely. Good to see you over there on Twitch. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being there. Republicans lose deep red Pennsylvania House seat held for 30 years. Trump won district by 18 points. Butler County, site of Trump's assassination, decided by just 88 votes. Democrat Brandon Dukes appeared to have flipped the deep red 12th legislative district in Tuesday's special election, edging Republican Tom Timko by only 88 votes in a district Trump won by 18%. According to unofficial Butler County returns, Duke received 8,434 votes. Timko received 8,346 votes. With 35 write-ins and all 27 precincts reported, turnout was 31%. And so it was just a few votes off. Wow. This is the first time a Democrat has held the seat since 1990. The district covers parts of southwest Butler County, including Cambria Township, Adam Township, Jackson Township, and Burroughs South. I don't understand that part of humanity. It really kind of confuses me why we do what we do. Okay, what is this? A new chapter. Iraq Prime Minister took office on May 16th of 2026 and has launched the massive, extensive anti-corruption campaign. Okay, so new Iraq Prime Minister who took office May 16th, who has launched a massive anti-corruption campaign in his country centered on the oil ministry. You mean where all the money comes from, where all the money is handled, how the money gets in and out of your country? That oil industry or oil ministry, prime minister, or whatever you want to call it. All right. The investigation began with the arrest of oil ministry deputy minister for refining affairs. Okay. Oil ministry deputy minister for refining affairs, whose testimony and an accompanying seizure of $35 million proceeded with wider sweeps. Another guy in the Supreme Sovereign Council for Integrity, Oversight, and Recovery of Public Funds ordered a review of major deals signed by previous governments. Okay. So they're following the money. I don't think that's that hard to do. I think it's a pretty good idea. Iraq's economy has faced separate pressures from Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, disrupting the trade. A Chinese firm managed roughly 34% of Iraq's reserves and produced 2/3 of its wait. The Chinese firm roughly handles 34% of Iraq's reserves. Okay? That's roughly 4 million gallons a day. In Iraq's most recent upstream licensing round. Okay, so Iraq is giving licensing to people, and Chinese energy company scooped up all but 3 of the blocks awarded. So why is it that China is going in there trying to get, because they're wanting to keep their oil flowing. Okay. The Western majors are re-entering regardless. Chevron signed preliminary agreements to replace sanctioned Luke Oil of West. Wow, this is Guys, there's a lot of language in here that has to do with foreign names and stuff, and I can't read them all. It just gets me all chopped up on this. But what's going on is I think we're going to see this entire region, the whole Middle East, all the relationships, all the different things, how we done business, how we get in and out of there. I think things are going to change, and I do believe it's going to be because we're decided that we're not going to do corruption anymore. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. So here's a little, this is when I see DAs or prosecutors get this right, but then it makes me wonder why it has to be a big thing for it to be a thing at all. Why can't we just do this more regularly? The Henderson County District Attorney and County Attorney have informed Trinidad, Texas Police Department that they will no longer accept any cases for prosecution solely investigated or filed by the department until further notice, or filed by the department until further notice. The letter obtained by local media effectively neuters the Trinidad PD's ability to bring meaningful criminal cases. The Henderson County Sheriff's Office will now handle crimes inside city limits. Now, by the way, guys, policy officers are what I just said. They are policy officers. They do not enforce law. And every time we use the word law enforcement, we're giving authority to something that does not have authority over us. We do not have law enforcement. We don't. We don't have law enforcement. We have policy enforcers. A letter obtained by, let's see. Trinidad, a town of fewer of 1,000 people, about an hour southeast of Dallas, has struggled for years with serious water problems, discolored water, sediment, strong odor, and chemical readings far above legal limits. The Texas Commission of Environmental Quality later confirmed major deficiencies, including chemicals more than 300% above federal limits. Citizen journalist Jennifer Combe, who runs the Southern Bell Watch Facebook page, posted that she had received reports of residents being hospitalized due to bacteria in the water. She asked people to share their stories. Then Police Chief Charles Gregory responded by having her arrested on a state jail felony charge of false alarm or report. See, guys, when I talk to you about how they can make up things or make your life miserable or do things that should not happen, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This right here. He charged her with a felony, false alarm, or report. A state felony. Creating fear, panic, and unnecessary emergency response within a community. Combs, a mother with a clean record, was taken from her home, handcuffed, and spent 23 hours in jail. The Henderson County grand jury quickly no-billed the case, declined to indict her. Combs then filed a federal civil rights lawsuit in the Eastern District of Texas against the city and several officials. The warrant process came under its own devastating scrutiny. Henderson County Judge Scott McKee later wrote that 2 Trinidad officers omitted material information about citizen complaint, water concern. So the judge threw the cops under because he can't be wrong. Oh, they did it wrong. I didn't just magically sign this for no good reason. 444 on the clock. Good to see you guys. But we didn't do that. What? One day after Fox 4 aired its first report on Combs, YouTube journalist Winston Knowles, known online as Otto the Watchdog, traveled to Trinidad to protest. He stood outside the city hall with a profane sign condemning bad cops and live streamed the encounter of his audience. 18 minutes into the live stream, police arrested him for misdemeanor disorderly conduct. By the way, an arrest for misdemeanor disorderly conduct? Come on, guys. Municipal Judge Bivens dismissed the charge. The city council responded by firing Judge Bivens. The city administrator was also shown the door. Guys, this is like a dream state I'm in right here. That the city council obviously went to and got rid of the judge and also the city administrator. That's a big goddamn deal. We don't see that happening. But probably the only reason this even came to light is because the girl had to go sue. She had to put the money together to get a lawyer to go find somebody who will file a lawsuit and go after him. Nobody's touching my case. Nobody's lining up to do mine. I've even talked to some very big attorneys in the muckety-mucks of the world, and they still don't seem to figure out how they can get a hold of my case because they are too afraid of the system that came after me. The way they came after me, they don't want to touch it because if they can do what they did to me, they don't want to. They ain't about that life. Seriously. Former Chief Gregory later resigned. The interim chief, Cameron Beckham, has publicly acknowledged that everyone watching this circus already knew the department has a long history of problems. Beckham admitted to local reporter bad policing for 15 years. Okay, so if he admitted that over the last 15 years, do we get to go back and review those cases? Do we get to go back and check and see what really happened in there? Democrat gubernatorial candidate Dave Jolly says the Florida GOP leadership is taking America backwards towards slavery. Why is it that the default of societies, according to news and whatever, is that men only enslave brown people and women? Is that what we have a history of doing? Is enslaving brown people and women? I mean, here in America, less than 1% of the United States population ever owned less than 1% of the United States population, like the billionaires of our world. The billionaires are the only ones that own slaves. And if you go and look at a lot of their employees who work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what's the difference? Because they get a paycheck? It's not slavery? Why is it that the default is that we're going back to slavery? We're putting brown people in jail. We're keeping medical treatment from women. Where is any of that happening? Why is it that that's always the scare tactic for them? Oh, you can't vote, and you'll be put in a cage, and women won't get medical care. If Trump wins the election in 2024, there will be no medical care for women. Dave Jolly, we got so much wrong at the beginning. People of color were 3/5 a person. Women did not have economic or legal rights. That arc has bent backwards in the last 8 years. But 4 of those 8 years you're referring to were Biden years. So what happened those 4 years? Were you guys keeping it on the forward bend, or is it being backward bend again? Which one is it? Abraham Lincoln was still able to win the election with a plurality of jeez, I am stopped. Whew. All right, we're going to go on. Following the Civil War, Republicans passed the 14th Amendment in 1868 to guarantee the newly freed slaves equal protection under the law. 94% of Republicans voted, 0% of the Democrats voted for it. 94% of Republicans voted for it. 100% of the Democrats voted against it to free slaves and give them equality, to give them rights. I don't know. California Energy Commission bans sale of The California Energy Commission on Monday voted to restrict what type of tires Californians can buy and when they can replace their tires. Guys, if there was ever a reason why you don't need more government, this is exactly it. The new rule will lead to a ban on sale of majority of tires in the state because they don't meet the new efficiency standards. The regulatory agency full of unelected bureaucrats claimed the new rule would lead to a price increase of $6.50 per tire in the second phase. So you're going to pay $6.50 more per tire? Right. Okay, so what happens? Okay, so all you're going to do is now you're going to drive all the tire sales out of California. Oh, my God. All right, well, I got to send this one to my son. He'll think this one's funny. I mean, seriously, this is actually like, I can't believe this is like even an article that we're even discussing. Unbelievable. Wow. They're going to tell you what tires you can and cannot buy. Shit. All right. Glad I don't live there. All right, guys, remember the 10% we do for our neighbor, community, city, county, state, the federal government. The more you do for them, the less it to do for you. Learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. So there will be a far, far better place. Remember, hold the line, hold fast, do not give up, do not give in. We'll win. I promise I can't keep. Guys, you've always been the answer out there. Remember, the Constitution limits your government, but never limits you. You have always been the authority and have always had the answer. Please do not give over that power to anybody else. Guys, you just don't ever give it up. Don't give it. It's inalienable. God-given and inalienable rights cannot be given or taken away by any man. Why do we not talk this way? Because they taught us to give in to them. They taught us that we have to give in to their authority. They are our bosses. They are the ones who know what's best for us. Doesn't sound like that's the case right now. All right, guys, that's going to be about it for me. I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. You guys will be good to each other out there, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Oh, Monday? No, we'll do it tomorrow. Thursday. I apologize. Man, I don't know. Maybe I got a 4-day weekend coming up. That'd be great. Anyway, I'm kidding. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.